When we compare a system like Epic on a per megabit basis to the owner economics of WGS, we come out about the same. So the key there is changing the mentality of looking at megahertz and then looking at megabits. And I think what these high throughput satellites do very efficiently is convert those megahertz to a much higher efficient megabit model. And so a lot of our commercial customers are moving to that megabit model and developing services and applications that are definitely at a lower cost point. So we're giving them essentially owner economics with these new high throughput satellites, and we can do the same for the DoD. But we need to be sure to change that model from megahertz to megabits.
Yeah, I agree with Kay. One of the things you probably are referring to is Dr. Jost had made these comments about how commercial was 4 times more expensive than WGS. A lot of that basically results from assumptions that are made, and also what the throughput was, and spot leases and so on and so forth. So Kay's exactly right. As we move to a higher throughput satellite model, it's going to be much, much cheaper for the government to go ahead and get through the throughput that they're required, and they start to converge.
I know Joe did a lot of work on that analysis, so it'd be great to get his perspective, but I will say that there's one thing we learned about that study and the comparison. When you change utilization, the utilization assumption on WGS, and you run that model with a different utilization assumption, it changes completely the outcome. So it's not funny math, but it is definitely math that is based on assumptions. And if you change those assumptions, you get a very different answer. Especially the answer when you talk to a warfighter that says, well, this system was 5 years delayed in getting to me. What's the price on that?
Joe.
And General Haney and Ms. Sears, that's spot on in terms of bits versus bandwidth. We've got some pretty fussy customers. And they want to have their demand whether they're using it or not. So we spend a lot of money on capacity we don't use. If we were to buy bits versus bandwidth and are able to assure them the service quality, and that's the key thing. And so that's just a conversation, and I believe commercial can do that. I think there's a sweet spot out there that is very, very affordably competitive. So the bit versus bandwidth conversation is very healthy. Being able to ingest that into the DoD enterprise, and moreover, our customers who aren't comfortable with that. You are comfortable with that, perhaps at home on your ISP service. You may not be comfortable with that with some command circuit. So we've got a little work to do, but industry is certainly leading the way with tremendous capacity, terabits on orbit. And if DoD isn't in line to access that, I think that's a problem. So that the affordability calculus, I think, changes significantly.